you look at your team, and this is your household, this is your kids, this is your husband, your wife, whatever, your spouse, this is whoever it is, right? Look at them and say, okay, what is their skill set? And how do we build towards that? In any great job or great team, people understand what they're good at and what they're not good at. And then you leverage those strengths and weaknesses. What's up, everybody? Look, it's time for another Average Mindset Monday. And listen, I got something to help you real quick, right? And I'm just going to boil down leadership into three things. And this is more about how to be an effective leader, right? Because there's a lot of times, and here's what I'm gonna preface: different styles, different temperaments, different type of people can still lead. Like there's no one size fits all. There's no one demeanor it fits all and whatnot. So let's scratch that out the way for a second. But here's what I'm saying: there are three things that all leaders have, no matter what your temperament is, no matter what your thought process is, no matter what, right? The first thing, it is that you have to know where you're going. That's number one in anything. If you want to lead people, you have to know where to go. So you can't lead anybody and then you're just telling folks like, well, whatever we're doing, it's just some type of result is going to come from it. No, it has to be, I want to get here, or I want to accomplish these things, or this is where we're going, or whatever. This is the progress we need to improve. That way people can attach themselves to it and say, okay, cool, this is the direction we're going. And it makes sense to them on how we're going to get to that piece, right? So that's number one. Think about, if you are leading people, where are you going? And this means, like, on a very simple level, just understanding that, hey, I want to go from A to B, right? The second part is, and which is to me the most important part to this, is understanding who you're leading. So in this particular case, you want to understand who is in your team. How do they communicate? What type of temperament do they have? What type of demeanor do they have? What drives them? What pushes them to do what they do? Like, what skill set do they have? See, that's the thing. And this is the part where we miss the most, is because we don't truly understand who works with us, right? Who is a part of that team and who am I leading? Because what tends to happen is we'll go into a group, we'll say, to checklist this off, tell me about yourself. What are you good at? What aren't you so good at? And then you say, yep, that's what it is. When a really, truly great leader says, okay, sure, tell me about yourself, right? Tell me what your strengths are. Tell me what your opportunities are. What aren't you so good at? That way I can help you see around corners, so to speak. But then what we don't do after that is we don't observe them to see, okay, is this true, right? Like, there's not a lot of people in the world that are very self-aware for themselves meaning when I ask someone else what type of person this person is, or what are they good at, what are their opportunities, the person agrees with it. There's not a lot of people like that. So that's why, as a leader, it is great, it is necessary for you to understand not only what they think about themselves, but then your observations say, okay, does this ring true or not? Because then you start to guide them into where they need to go, right? Like, I could say, hey, man, you know what, Corey, I'm the most analytical person out here, whatever. Most people that would observe me would be like, no, not really, right? But if they did observe me, they would be like, hey, Corey can get people to buy in. Corey can get people to move. Corey can get people to think. He can change their perspective. He can get them fired up. He can get them to run through a wall, like those types of things. He can get people bought into going in to do the vision and the mission that we said that we would have. So that's what I want you to think about. As you look at your team, and this is your household, this is your kids, this is your husband, your wife, whatever, your spouse, this is whoever it is, right? Look at them and say, okay, what is their skill set and how do we build towards that? In any great job or great team, people understand what they're good at and what they're not good at. And then you leverage those strengths and weaknesses, honestly. The final part is communication. You can know where you're going. You can know who your team is. But if you cannot communicate, then the ship will never go the direction it needs to go. You have to be able to communicate what the vision is. You have to be able to communicate where we're going, what changes need to be made in a way that people are going to buy in, right? That is why I'm great at what I do, because I understand how to communicate these types of things. And people then say, okay, cool, makes sense. Okay, cool, this is where we're going. Cool, I need to work on this. And they don't feel defeated. Okay, cool, I might not be really good at this, but that's okay, because my strength is really this, right? And he's been observing me. You have to be able to communicate these things. So what I want you to think about is those three things for yourself, right? Think about it. Where am I going? Who's on my team? And can I communicate the vision effectively enough to get them to where they need to go to achieve the mission? See, everybody's going to do it a little bit different. Some people are going to be authoritarian. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it works for some people. It works in some areas of the world, right? Some people are going to be, a democratic type of leader. Some people are more of a coach that's going to teach you, exactly how to do different things. I do agree on that side because we need to start teaching people more about how to get the vision rather than just telling them to go chase it. But I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. I'm not saying something works for one person, something won't work for another person. But when you apply those three principles, when you apply those three areas of leadership, I guarantee your team will win. See, that's your average mindset Monday. I want you to start to think about those things and look, check back in with me, drop a comment on if it's working for you. Y'all have a great week.